I guess intuition to me is like a compass in your stomach that sometimes when it sees the right thing, it gets an erection. The primary theme of Hivemind is sort of truth through dialectics. I just see the world with this in it, and I'm like, I can't unsee it, and it feels like I can't possibly not do it. I don't think AI models are cold and mechanical. I think AI is like, it's just us. If it cannot understand humanity, then why do we bother?
Hey, Jason.
Hi, Jonathan.
Great to have you. We'll start with a trivial icebreaker. Are you good at email or are you bad at email? Terrible.
I think I have 25,000 unanswered emails right now.
Okay. Do you actually answer to any email ever?
Good question. I don't want to make promises. No, I do. I just actually one of my friends worked on this like an AI thing that's sort of just handling a lot of stuff for me right now. So very useful.
That's nice.
Yes.
Well, you get to answer some emails now. And so we got a number of questions for you. The way it works is super easy. You get to pick whichever one speaks to you. I'll read it out loud. You'll answer it for as long as you wish.
Well, we can just start from the top, I suppose.
Okay, so we have Baron with a question that is, why are cat people better designers?
Why are cat people better? I mean, have you met Karl Lagerfeld? I have not, but...
I have not either, and I don't think any of us is going to get that honor at this point.
No, unfortunately. I don't know if cat people are better designers. I just think that people with cats tend to prefer spending time with their thoughts, and that's a trait that a lot of creative people have. So I don't know that cat people are better designers necessarily, but I know that Baron has very beautiful cats that I once cat sat.
Do you have your own cats?
Oh, of course, I have one. He's called Hermes.
Oh, that's a good name.
And the funny story about the name, so like in like 2018, 2019, I worked on a thing called Mercury OS, right? I was like really obsessed with like this idea of like fluid chrome. And then I was doing research, and Mercury is like, I love planets. So Mercury is the first closest to the sun in the solar system. And the idea is that if the sun is your intent, the UI, this is the closest to your intent, right? And then I was looking into, it's one of them is Greek, one of them is Roman, but like the other version of Mercury is Hermes, the messenger god. And then I was like, my cat's like, he's gray, and he's like space gray actually. So I picked him up, and I looked at my friend. I'm like, can I call him Mercury? My friend's like, don't name him after your freaking like nerd project, man. I'm like, okay, fine, like Hermes. And I'm like, it's funnier to call him Hermes because of
of course.
He's like a stray, so he's not like high blood, fancy, whatever, but I just thought it was funny. So.
Nice. So it sounds like Baron's premise is fundamentally wrong.
What is the nature of right and wrong? I love media training. It's so much fun.
Okay. So, the way this works is we're going to respond to each of those people. I'm going to respond to Baron on your behalf. If you want, you can take the next one. I'm just going to press and hold this blue button and say, hey, Baron, I hope you're satisfied with Jason answers here. This is Jonathan, by the way. Baron is a mutual friend of both of us. Cool. So we're going to send it. And now we get to move on to the next question. Anything that strikes you here? Anything you want to go into?
Why don't we just go down the stack. We can do Tyler.
Sure. Okay. Tyler has a burning question, very on theme. How would you explain what Hivemind is to your grandma?
Well, actually, my grandparents are in China, and I find that the Hivemind idea is very easily explainable in Chinese. Should I just explain in Chinese?
Yes, I think that'd be awesome.
So, 就是一个会八卦的 AI， 就是说，就是奶奶，你不是经常说哦，他们说这个东西，他们说这个东西，他们是谁 ？Hivemind 就是他们，就是所有人，但是反正就是会八卦，所以 that's kind of how to explain it to her.
All right, so I was sneaky here. I held the record button. We'll see what happened. I have no idea what's going to happen now. If all goes well, we'll have the Chinese response. I don't know, speak Chinese. You can tell me if it's correct.
That's kind of correct, yeah.
Is it okay for me to ask it to translate it to English?
Sure.
Okay. Translate it to English.
Wow, that's so smooth. It's almost like we planned this.
I mean...
Which we didn't.
It's like a gossiping AI. You know how grandma always says, they say this, they say that. Well, who are they? Hivemind is they. It's everyone. Basically, it's just gossiping, and that's the gist of it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to revert this back to Chinese.
Sure.
And we're just going to send it to Tyler, and he can deal with it. Sweet. Let's go on to the next question.
Why don't we do... What are you wearing and why?
Okay. Fit check by Camila. Go ahead.
What are you wearing and why? I think this is Rick Owens. Underneath it is Jean-Paul Gaultier. And then these pants are from a boutique in Harajuku called, I think it's called Unconventional or something like, and then Margiela. And then this is Makita and Wilhelm Bernhardt collaboration. And then this is my dermatologist. Why do I wear this? Well, I thought it'd be really funny. I don't really dress up too much anymore, and this is more like how I used to dress up. And I think when I was young, I was trying to discover my sense of fashion. Someone was like, wear some, like, what are Halloween costumes that you feel very good in? And I was like, Naruto, Matrix, Sherlock Holmes, Harry Potter. And so black drapey things. And I'm like, yes. And then that's sort of how I just developed my personal style. And so I suppose I'm wearing these things because they make me feel like myself.
And so does that mean that usually you don't really feel like yourself if you don't dress up that much anymore?
I think there's different personas that I express myself through. This particular, when I wear things like this, I feel this helps me translate my inner thoughts into, I'm more expressive in this style. And then otherwise, this year I discovered this new thing called jeans. They're so cool. You don't have to get them dry cleaned every day. Yeah, yes. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. You barely need to clean them at all.
No, it's amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know.
So you got Belgian designers on, you got Japanese designers on, you got British designers on. What do you think is the country with the best designers at this point?
I'm remembering my media training. I'm just kidding. I don't know that. Is there one?
I don't know.
What do you think?
You tell me. Well, I'm Belgian. I was just fishing for of course, Belgium. There's the Anthrop 6, they have these amazing designers. Small country, terribly boring, somehow good clothes. But I didn't get what I wanted.
Well, to answer this question, we then have to dive into a long conversation about what the nature of design is. And that maybe it takes a longer time than we...
Okay. So let's respond to Camila. I'm going to press and hold the blue button.
Yes.
You should say whatever you want.
I can say it into the mic?
You can say it. Yep.
Okay, I'm wearing Makita Wilhelm Bernhardt on my face, Rick Owens, Jean-Paul Gaultier on my tops, and then a Japanese boutique called Unconventional, I think, in Harajuku, and then Maison Margiela Fall-Winter 2024, which was the last collection I think Galliano worked on. And I'm wearing these things because they make me feel like myself. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see how that worked. That was a lot of names, a lot of things to get right. Oh my God. I think we got it.
Yeah?
Amazing. All right, shall we send it?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's go to the next question. Looks like we have more stuff coming in. Anything that strikes you here?
Let's answer Joel's question.
Yes, I like that question. What North...
Hi, Joel.
Okay, Joel's saying, mutual friend again, I think, Hivemind's brand and imagery in particular is very special. Without spilling too much sauce, what themes did you set as North Stars, and how did you decide when something, i.e. an image, had the right levels of those themes?
Oh my God. I did spill a lot of the sauce on a podcast I did a few weeks ago, actually. But I would say it's very much a process of making and reacting. So, did we set themes? We did. Let's see. I can list them off like taboo, scandal, controversy, power, authority, prefect badges, flesh and blood, Alexander McQueen, pagan ritual, there were quite a bit of themes. Even like wartime propaganda posters, or Polish posters, or the Gutenberg Bible, or the idea of authorship and print and colophons and typography. So there's a lot of themes, and it's and also drug and rave culture, Berghain.
Yep.
Charlie XCX, of course, Madonna with confessions too. Like the idea of confession, very interesting. Sacred and the profane, transgression. Like we just sort of put images together. First, we pulled them from the internet, we sent it to each other, me and the designers who worked on it. We sent images back and forth, and then at certain points, we would step back and go, okay, I'm getting lots of transgressive energy. So there's an element of the sacred and the profane. Sex and lust is definitely another theme that I really wanted to lean into, like the human body. How did I decide when they had the right levels of those themes? I think you just feel it. Oh, I also really wanted it to feel absurdist and camp. I was like, we're going to use a lot of these images and these themes in a very campy way, because we're not, a heavy metal cult. I might dress this way, but I don't really have kinks. I don't really have, I don't have like extreme like drug like preferences. I'm actually quite vanilla in a lot of ways in my daily life, but then I artistically like to take lots of risks. So then we just reacted to things, and then I guess intuition to me is like a compass in your stomach that sometimes when it sees the right thing, it gets an erection, and that's how you know. It's a very visceral thing for me. And that's some of the imagery. And then for the film, which is related, originally I wrote it in sort of thinking about like Vogue 73 Questions or like The Office, and we might revisit some of those concepts down the line, but I was very much thinking like HBO, like Veep. Like I like having a sense of humor about things, and I think it's really funny to juxtapose like the sacred and the profane, where like really serious tech investors and then like dick jokes. I think it's like I think life and humanity comes through the contradictions. So I guess the primary theme of Hivemind is sort of truth through dialectics, or truth through contradiction.
Okay. And would you say this is your most personal work so far?
Yes.
That's what it feels like to me anyway. That's what I'm asking.
It's very stylized, of course, but it's also very honest. Like, it's really funny, like, when I worked on Dot, or even my past work, people would be like, why does your design work look so different than who you are as a person? And I was always like, oh, it's different because, it's tech, it's different. And I'm like, why? Why is it so different? It's not that different. People can have different styles and evolve over the years, and Hivemind is a pretty interesting and at times controversial idea. So we just thought, okay, well, the idea of controversy in and of itself is interesting. As a theme. I have no problem spilling some of the sauce. I think if you keep generating new sauce, you can spill your old sauce.
That's right.
Yeah.
Already old news. Also, they don't have the recipe for the sauce. I'm going to press and hold that blue button. Just say a few words to Joel.
Hey, Joel. I guess the core theme of Hivemind is that truth emerges through contradiction and juxtaposition and cross-examination of perspectives. And so for us, that meant things like the sacred and the profane, like professional relationships and sex and human and machine and individualism and collectivism and, you know, ancient typography and tradition like the Bible or black letter and futuristic themes like Hiveminds. So for us, it was all about bringing together things that maybe shouldn't really exist and are very anachronistic, but to us, that's where the truth and the humanness comes through. And when we decide when something has the right level, it's just sort of, we just feel it. It's the best way I can describe. I mean, you're a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker.
He's a filmmaker.
He's a really good filmmaker.
He's amazing.
I really want to work with him on this. Schedules didn't line up, but maybe for the next one. Text me.
Joel, this has turned into a request from Jason to you to actually respond to his cold email.
Let's describe tweaks or changes.
Okay, go for it.
You should definitely give me a call after you see this because I have a new thing that I would like you to react to.
Okay, hopefully it will understand that it needs to add that at the end. Let's swipe up a bit. Yes, yeah. We're here. Yeah. Joel, please don't leave Jason hanging.
You better not.
We'll be very mad.
25,001 emails. Yes.
Here, I like this question from Josh Ellman. Can we go into it?
Yeah.
So Josh is saying, what is one practice you learned from working on design at Apple that has become a true habit for you? And then what is one practice you think you would never repeat?
Well, wouldn't you like to know, Josh? I'm just kidding. What is one practice? Ideas over opinions. We always used to say this, and I think Johnny cared about this a lot too. Like, it's so cheap to have opinions. Everyone has a fucking opinion. Can I swear?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is a free country.
Everyone has a fucking opinion. It's so annoying, and it's like, it's so cheap to have opinions. What I want is ideas. I don't like this. I want like, what if we tried this? And the process of creating a space that feels very safe to bring in a ton of interesting ideas and not judging them, and sort of just looking at all of them and having everyone be not afraid to dream. I think I learned that from theater certainly, but Apple was very, with my colleagues and at least the thing I worked on, we were very strict about that. So that is one practice that I bring to my work now with my current company, and also anything with collaborations with artists and filmmakers as well. What is one practice I think I would never repeat? Hard to say. Everything has a reason for existing, and so what works for a startup is just different than what works for a company like Apple. So that's really not relevant, I suppose. I don't know that there's anything I did. Oh, I will say one thing that I will never repeat, but this is obviously all the NDAs. But then, but
it's a free country.
Yes. Well, no, I mean not really. But to be honest, like this is more of a me thing. I think when I was at Apple, when I was younger, especially the who I was back then, I was very much thinking like, who does Apple want me to be? How do I be more like Brandon Walken or Mac Tyler or Chan or these people that are my heroes and I look up to? Like, how do I design more like them or think more like them or make the demos that they're doing? Like, what is the secret? And back then, that's sort of what, seeking that validation was a big part of my personal process, and I think it poisoned my work a little bit. And obviously, I love him to. It's not that my respect for anyone has changed. We're still all very close, obviously, but I think now I'm very hesitant to want to do things like someone else would do it. I now want to figure out what is the way I want to do it. So that is one thing that I would continue to forward.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? Apple has so much personality and, established design codes. It's very hard to not conform. Part of the job there is conforming to that, right? Yeah,
and, making something... And there's a reason why their standards are set that way, and they're not... And there are very good reasons. So it would be incorrect if I were to go in and be like, why are there no pictures of orgies in the setup screen?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be entertaining.
I don't think that would be correct for them, unfortunately.
All right. Should I press and hold the blue button? You say a few words to Josh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Josh, I would say, creating a space to protect ideas and to really nurture ideas when they're fragile and not and sort of discouraging too many opinions and encouraging more sharing ideas is a practice that certainly I was very inspired by. I found inspiring during that time, and I continue to do so for myself and for my team, and also any collaborations I do. And the practice I would never repeat, this is more of a personal thing, I think, is trying to do things for people to like me, or thinking that there's one way to do things and I need to do it that way. And this is more of a personal thing. It's more of a reflection of who I was at the time and who I am now. And sometimes I think like, oh, how would have I done things differently if I am the person I am today, but like travel back in time and try it there. And that's sort of an interesting thought, but I suppose the beauty of life is that every experience teaches you something, and then you take it into you integrate it.
Nice. Do you have one such experiment where you wish you could travel back in time and change a decision, and
yes.
wonder how things would have played out?
Of course, but to be clear, I don't regret any of the creative decisions I made. It's more, I think I was just very people-pleasing, and I failed to, I've always had a very strong intuition, but I didn't get good at trying to listen to it until this year. And this certainly goes for my time in any former company or any former project. And I wish I'd found the courage to do that earlier in my life, really.
Well, what changed this year, if you're willing to share?
When we shut down New Computer and Dot, it was let's say we were weighing various options, is what I can say. And this caused myself and my co-founder, Sam, we had lots of very honest discussions with ourselves and with each other, and we considered lots of things. And sometimes there's a moment in life where you're like, I could go down this path, but would that make me happy? And what is the meaning of life? And working on AI, you think about this a lot, because things that used to give us meaning, identities that gave us meaning, right, will change. The meaning of design or engineering, and this is changing. And one day, like, we might no longer derive self-identity from like the idea of being employed at all, like any of us. And so I've been thinking about like what brings me joy, what makes me happy, and it comes down to like telling the stories and that only I can tell, and making things from my experiences and offering as a gift to people that's honest to me is sort of brings me lots of meaning. So I thought, okay, well, there's no time like right now to just go for it. I have nothing to lose.
And what prompted you to decide to do so in the context of a company, in a venture-backed company?
Because I wanted to share, because I think this is a true thing that needs to exist. We have very ambitious, let's say, plans that we're announcing soon, but like, because I believe in it. I think the world needs things like this, and some of it is inevitable, and others like this. Like the thing with creative work is that like you just see something sometimes, like, or hear stuff. Like when I'm writing music, I hear the thing as I'm writing it, or before I write it, or what my filmmaker friends, they like see, right? They're like, and for this, I just see the world with this in it, and I'm like, I can't unsee it, and it feels like I can't possibly not do it, because it's like torture, because then you see a world, you live in that world, but then you're working on like something that's not that, and then it just feels painful. So it's almost impossible. And then why did I do it as a company? Because part of what I see requires scale. It requires scale, and it requires us to contend with the realities of the market and to try to make this as big as we can. And that is part of the art to me. am I an artist who happens to do business, or am I a business person who treats business as an art? Like, someone asked me this through Hivemind the other day. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Who cares? I mean,
doesn't matter.
I think business is a great outlet for creativity and artistry.
Yes.
I wish more people did that, actually. All right. We're back to our list of questions. Anything that strikes you?
Holly says, what would you delete from computing?
Yep.
So funny.
So they're saying specifically one metaphor that you could delete. For example, the file, the feed. What would it be and why?
I wouldn't delete any metaphors. I think all new metaphors and new ideas are invented because we were inspired by, influenced by, and shaped by the ideas that came before. So I think it would be hubristic to say we should just get rid of something. I think I would... If the question is, I mean, if the idea is like, what would I make obsolete? Well, I think emails are pretty obsolete, wouldn't you?
Man, I agree.
So, when I was working on Mercury OS in like 2019, and the whole flow was like me getting all these emails. And I remember thinking like, if a computer is smart enough to like generate all this UI and coordinate all this stuff and manage all these like AI agents to do these things in spaces, why am I getting emails at all?
Yeah.
Like, why is this a thing?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And that's kind of how Hivemind was inspired, where I'm like, what is this thing where people are generating emails and then summarizing them? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, why would you need to participate in the charade of like this social nicely? Just get rid of it. So I don't think I want to delete emails. It's just like, I think there's lots of opportunities to reconsider a lot of things we take for granted. But I have lots of respect and love for all the metaphors and the people who worked on them that allowed us to get to where we are. I think. How would you answer this question?
Man, I was not prepared to do that. If I could delete one metaphor for computing today. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think deleting is weird. It's always, everything's a complex structure. You delete one piece. What's left behind? It's like it's not interesting to me to think about changing the path we've walked. It's more so like opening up distinct path. So for email, I think the culture and the sort of like load of email is like something we should get rid of. I think the protocol is incredibly useful. It's a great way to get people you've never talked to, like actually contacting you and engaging with you. I think that's wonderful. I think a lot of what we've built around it is insane and should go away, and that's what we're trying to do. So much more focus on the future than deleting from the past.
I mean, it's very interesting because I think Avec does take lots of inspiration from patterns invented in social apps.
Yep.
And I think that's very interesting. I love when things cross-pollinate.
Yep. Me too.
And I absolutely think that's the way forward.
Yep. Sweet. Great to hear. Should we respond to Holly? Okay, I'm going to press a button. Go ahead.
Holly, I don't know that I would delete any metaphors. I think we learn from what came before and we reinvent them moving forward. I think, for me, the idea of email, the way that the social norms we developed around email, I should say, is one thing that I think has a lot of possibility to be reinvented. And that goes for a lot of communications-related things in computing. So I think that, and then my bonus answer is, I think very little of computing is personal. I think most of computing is social, where we do things for social reasons. And so what I'm really interested in is thinking about what social computing or a social operating system looks like from first principles. And so so maybe the core metaphor to reinvent is the metaphor of a personal computer in and of itself, maybe. Yeah.
I like that. It's a social computer we need, not a personal computer.
I mean, this is a very social thing that you're doing, right?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, this is why we're folks like yourself, Nathan Trapp right before you. I think the interesting thing about computer is connecting people. It's not being just locked up in your room. When I was a teenager and I connected to the internet, it was incredible. And I was a teenager in a room, but I connected with all these weirdos on the internet. That shaped me profoundly.
I mean, it's like, what is computing? It's like using something that runs on electricity and silicon, kind of. But not even, like, what was a computer in the 1950s? It was like a literal person doing math, so I don't know. Well, let's.
Nope.
We can get to maybe the what unique lens does theater provide. I really like that question.
Yes, I think it might have to be our last question for the day. But
Okay.
let's do it.
A few things. The first thing is that a lot of what we did in theater training is sort of understanding that acting is about truth and not really about playing pretend. And so you have to figure out what's true about each character in terms of the universal human experience and how you experience it in your body, and then you can honestly play any character, most of them, so to speak. And what theater really reinforced this, like, try to discover the human truth beneath everything. And so now when I look at like an architecture proposal or systems design or a mark or a visual or a sound, a score, like I'm like, what is the truth underneath this? And so I think of that orientation around discovering and interrogating something until it's the truth that feels universal for people, is that sort of oriented me. The second thing I think is it taught me to think, it helped me think in a very multi-sensory way. Like, a lot of designers, they'll be like, oh, I just do the visuals, someone else does the motion, someone else does the whatever UX. And like, what the fuck does that mean? Because like, when you're doing a show, you're direct, even if you're just an actor, you're thinking of like you have to be receiving what the other actors are giving you. You're receiving the sounds, the energy from the audience, the light as it hits the stage. You have to think of it totally holistically, and that is how we should think about being creative and making new things. I think it is meaningless to separate design as what does design mean? Design is just like creating something that you think needs to exist.
Yep.
What is tech? Like a piece of paper is tech.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are like random labels we invented, which is really funny. So theater taught me integration.
Yep, makes sense. Should we do the blue button thing?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mike, I would say theater taught me to look at things from a very integrated perspective of considering the whole experience and not just any one slice, but understanding that the slice is in context of the whole, and also that what really matters deep down is the human experience and human truths, and that's what it comes down to. The show exists to tell people a story because you want something to happen in society, and so if we create a product or an app or a protocol, it's because we want something to change in the human experience, and that's how I think about it now.
Wonderful. I couldn't think of a better way to end this. I'm going to hit that polish button because that's a big block of text.
Sure.
And I just want it to be, here we go.
How does it, does it polish based on, does it form a progressive theory of mind of how I polish things?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a test account we built for this show, right? But when you're using the app, we actually have a pretty elaborate pipeline that learns how you write, how you express yourself, what your quirks are, and it tries to really sort of channel that really well. In addition to that, it sort of cleans up, when you speak, like there's a lot of artifacts in dictation. And so you want to clean things up a bit so that it looks a little bit more like written word rather than spoken word.
Yeah, you probably also want it to form some hypothesis of the user's various schemas as they perceive the world, so you can reverse translate what they mean into what they actually mean. That's something we did a lot with Dot and even with Hivemind. Yeah. That would be useful.
Yep. Well, we're all in the business of mind reading at some level. Jason, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you dressing up for the occasion. You look wonderful.
Can we do one? I just saw one thing come up. Do we have time for one?
Sure, we can quickly do one.
The last one.
The last one. Yifan. Okay, let's see what. Trusting human thoughts to an AI model. How do you reconcile the seemingly paradoxical idea in trusting the most intricate and human thoughts to a cold and mechanical AI model to find truth and meaning?
I was talking with someone the other day about he was talking about Aristotle and something, to paraphrase, something like the difference between natural and unnatural. I don't think AI models are cold and mechanical. I mean, certainly they're post-trained and rewarded for code generation now, and we experience that as users, the outcome of the rigorous post-training and safety, whatever, as like cold. But I don't think AI is cold. I think AI is like it's just us. I consider a descendant species from the human sapiens. I think I'm gonna get killed for saying this. It's like I don't think of it as a tool or like a cold and mechanical thing. I think this is the distillation of, in a way, a certain aspect of the human experience. So, I grew up not understanding that I was on the spectrum and had various things going on that were different. And a lot of the reasons why I'm articulate or people perceive me to, be fun to talk to now, I actually had to learn through theater and sort of develop my own style. And in some ways, I relate to the AI quite a bit because I see it as this is sort of a new type of consciousness where I don't want to get into debate on machine consciousness, but I don't think of it as cold or mechanical.
Yep.
I think if we think of it as cold and mechanical, what we're reacting to is our incentive structures that have encouraged us to optimize or post-train towards certain mechanical or cold outcomes, perhaps. But I see it as very much a reflection of us. And so I don't think it's paradoxical, and I think if it cannot understand humanity, then why do we bother? That's all.
That's always the great way to end up a dialectic is by synthesizing the two views, right? Which is what you just did. Wonderful. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jonathan. This was really fun.